Part 1. In the quiet town of Greenfield, nestled between rolling hills and dense forests, life moved at a slow pace. The people there were simple: farmers, teachers, shopkeepers, and they liked it that way. But on one cold winter night, something extraordinary happened, something no one could have imagined. At the edge of town stood an old observatory, long abandoned but recently reopened by a group of scientists from the nearby university. Among them was Alex Carter, a man in his early 30s with messy brown hair and glasses that always seemed to slide down his nose. Alex wasn't famous or rich. He was just someone who loved looking up at the stars and wondering what secrets they held. His best friend since childhood, Mia Lopez, worked alongside him. She had dark curly hair tied back in a ponytail and a sharp mind for languages, even ones spoken by beings far beyond Earth. That night, Alex and Mia were huddled inside the observatory, staring at rows of blinking monitors as data streamed in from their telescope. It was supposed to be a routine scan of deep space, nothing special. But then something strange appeared. A signal, faint but unmistakable. At first, Alex thought it was interference, maybe a glitch in the equipment. But as he analyzed the numbers flashing across the screen, his heart began to race. This wasn't random noise, it was a pattern, deliberate and precise. "Mia," Alex said, his voice trembling slightly. "You need to see this." Mia pushed her chair over to his desk and leaned in, her eyes scanning the lines of code on the monitor. "What is it?" she asked, frowning. I think it's a message," Alex replied, rubbing his temples. "From somewhere out there." He pointed to a cluster of coordinates on another screen. "It's coming from a star system we've never paid much attention to before." Mia's eyes widened. "Are you serious? Like actual aliens?" Alex nodded slowly. "I don't know yet, but if it is, this could be the biggest discovery in human history." The two of them worked tirelessly through the night, decoding the signal bit by bit. By dawn, they had pieced together enough to understand its meaning, or at least part of it. The message was a cry for help, sent by someone calling themselves Lyra. According to the transmission, Lyra was the princess of a planet called Zythera, located light years away from Earth. Her world was dying, because their sun was becoming unstable, threatening to destroy everything. Lyra pleaded for assistance, saying her people didn't have the resources to fix the problem themselves. When Alex and Mia presented their findings to Dr. Emily Ross, the head of their research team, she was skeptical at first. "Do you realize how crazy this sounds?" she asked, folding her arms across her chest. "Aliens asking for help? Are you sure this isn't some elaborate prank?" "We're positive," Mia insisted. "The math checks out, and the language structure is too complex to be random. Someone, or something, is trying to communicate with us." Dr. Ross sighed, running a hand through her graying hair. "All right, let's take this to the United Nations. If this is real, it's not just our discovery, it's humanity's." News of the signal spread quickly after that. Within days, representatives from countries all over the world gathered in New York City to discuss the implications. Some argued that responding to the message was too risky, fearing it might invite danger. Others believed it was humanity's duty to help, especially since the message came from someone clearly desperate. Debates raged for hours, but eventually, a decision was made. Earth would answer the call. Captain Ryan Bennett, a decorated astronaut in his 40s with piercing green eyes and a calm demeanor, was chosen to lead the mission. Known for his ability to stay cool under pressure, Ryan had spent years commanding missions aboard the International Space Station. When he heard about the assignment, he felt both excitement and dread. This wasn't just another trip to the UA, Moon, or Mars. It was a journey into the unknown, with stakes higher than anyone could comprehend. Ryan assembled a small crew for the mission. Logan Hayes, a burly engineer with a knack for fixing anything mechanical, joined as the ship's technical expert. Sophie Grant, a soft-spoken doctor with a warm smile, signed on as the medical officer. Together, they would travel aboard the Aurora, a state-of-the-art spaceship designed for long-distance travel. As preparations began, Alex and Mia found themselves caught up in the whirlwind of activity. They helped pack supplies, reviewed plans for interacting with alien technology, and brainstormed ways to stabilize Zythera's sun. Despite their excitement, both felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on them. What if they failed? What if they misunderstood the message entirely? One evening as the launch date approached, Alex and Mia sat together on the roof of the observatory, gazing at the stars. "Do you ever wonder," Mia said softly, "what it'll be like to meet her, Lyra, I mean?" Alex smiled faintly. "Yeah, I do. She must be incredible to reach out like this, to trust us." "But what if we let her down?" Mia asked, her voice tinged with worry. "What if we can't save her planet?" Alex hesitated, then placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We'll do our best. That's all anyone can ask of us." The countdown to launch continued, each day bringing new challenges and discoveries. Back in Greenfield, life went on as usual, oblivious to the monumental events unfolding just miles away. Farmers tended their fields, children played in the snow, and shopkeepers greeted customers with cheerful smiles. None of them knew that soon, humanity would embark on a journey that would change everything. Not just for Earth, but for a distant princess named Lyra and her crumbling world. And so, with hope and determination burning bright in their hearts, Alex, Mia, Ryan, and the rest of the crew prepared to face the vastness of space, ready to answer a call for help from beyond the stars. Part 2. The days leading up to the mission were a blur of activity. Alex and Mia worked around the clock, poring over every detail of the signal they had received. They studied the language Lyra used in her message, trying to understand not just what she said, but how she thought. Mia's expertise in decoding languages proved invaluable as she pieced together phrases that hinted at Zythera's culture and technology. Meanwhile, Alex focused on the scientific aspects of the message, analyzing diagrams and equations embedded in the transmission. "It's incredible," Alex muttered one evening as he scribbled notes on a whiteboard. "Lyra's people are advanced, way beyond us in some areas, but their sun is unpredictable. She mentioned something about plasma storms disrupting their efforts to stabilize it." Mia nodded, flipping through pages of translated text. "And she's been working on this problem herself. She's not just a princess, she's a scientist too. That's why she reached out. She thinks we can help fill the gaps." Dr. Emily Ross stopped by their lab later that day, carrying a folder filled with updates from the United Nations. "We've finalized the plan," she announced. "Captain Bennett will lead the team and you two will join them as advisors. Your knowledge of Zythera's technology and language could make or break this mission." Alex looked up, surprised. "Us? Going into space?" "You're the experts," Dr. Ross replied firmly. "If anything goes wrong, or if we need to communicate with Lyra, you'll be essential." Mia exchanged a glance with Alex. Neither of them had ever imagined leaving Earth, let alone traveling to another galaxy. The idea was thrilling, but also terrifying. What if they made a mistake? What if they couldn't adapt to life aboard the Aurora? As the crew prepared for launch, tensions ran high. Captain Ryan Bennett called a meeting to discuss logistics. Gathered in a small briefing room, the team listened intently as Ryan outlined the mission objectives. "Our goal is simple: assist Lyra and her people in stabilizing their sun. We'll bring advanced fusion reactors and quantum stabilizers, tools Alex believes might work. Logan, your job is to ensure everything functions properly once we arrive. Sophie, you'll handle any medical emergencies. Alex and Mia, you'll act as intermediaries between us and the Zytherans." Logan Hayes leaned back in his chair, tapping a pen against his notebook. "What happens if things go south? If the equipment fails, or, I don't know, if Lyra's people turn on us?" Ryan met his gaze steadily. "We prepare for the worst but hope for the best. This isn't just about saving a planet. It's about proving humanity can step up when it matters." After the meeting, Sophie pulled Alex aside. "Are you nervous?" she asked gently. "Terrified," Alex admitted with a weak laugh. "But we have to try. If we don't, billions of lives could be lost." Sophie smiled reassuringly. "You're stronger than..." You think. We all are. Preparations continued at a frantic pace. Supplies were loaded onto the Aurora, including food, water, medical kits, and spare parts for repairs. Alex and Mia spent hours training with Logan, learning basic engineering skills in case they needed to assist him during the mission. Sophie taught them first aid techniques, emphasizing the importance of staying calm under pressure. One afternoon, while packing equipment, Mia found herself staring at a photograph taped to the wall of the lab. It showed her and Alex as kids, standing in front of the same observatory where they now worked. "Remember when we used to dream about exploring space?" she said wistfully. Alex grinned. Evidence. Part 3. The launch day arrived faster than anyone expected. The crew of the Aurora gathered at the spaceport early in the morning, their breaths visible in the chilly air. The ship stood tall on the launch pad, its sleek silver surface glinting under the pale sunlight. It was a marvel of human engineering, designed to withstand the harsh conditions of deep space and equipped with everything the team might need for their journey. Captain Ryan Bennett stood at the front of the group, giving last-minute instructions. "Remember," he said, his voice calm but firm, "this isn't just about us. This is about showing the universe that humanity can be trusted. Stay focused, stay safe, and trust each other." Alex and Mia exchanged nervous glances as they climbed aboard the ship. Neither of them had ever been in space before, and the thought of leaving Earth behind filled them with both excitement and dread. Logan Hayes, the burly engineer, gave them a reassuring pat on the shoulder. "Don't worry," he said with a grin. "You'll get used to it. Space isn't so bad once you're up there." Sophie Grant, the medical officer, double-checked her supplies one last time before taking her seat. She was quiet, but determined, her mind already running through possible scenarios they might face. As the countdown began, the hum of the engines grew louder, vibrating through the floor beneath their feet. 10 seconds to launch," came the voice of mission control over the intercom. 9, 8. Alex gripped the armrests of his chair tightly, his heart pounding. Beside him, Mia closed her eyes and took a deep breath. This was it. The moment they had been working toward for weeks. 3, 2, 1. Liftoff. The Aurora roared to life, lifting off the ground with a force that pressed everyone back into their seats. Through the small windows, they watched as Earth grew smaller and smaller, eventually disappearing into the vast blackness of space. For a while, no one spoke. They were too busy staring out at the endless expanse of stars, each one a reminder of how far they were traveling. The initial adrenaline wore off. Reality set in. The journey to Zythera would take months, and the crew had to settle into a routine. Logan spent most of his time in the engine room, making sure everything was running smoothly. One day, disaster struck when a piece of space debris hit the ship's hull, causing a minor breach. Alarms blared as oxygen levels began to drop. "We've got a problem," Logan shouted, rushing to the damaged section. Alex and Mia followed him, unsure of how they could help. Logan handed them tools and instructed them to hold a panel in place while he welded it shut. Sparks flew as he worked quickly, sweat dripping down his face despite the cold temperature inside the ship. "You're doing great," Alex said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Just a little more." Finally, the breach was sealed, and Logan let out a sigh of relief. "That was close," he muttered, wiping his brow. "Too close." Meanwhile, Sophie kept everyone's spirits up by organizing small activities to pass the time. She taught the crew basic first aid techniques and even held impromptu yoga sessions to help them relax. Despite her gentle demeanor, she had a way of keeping everyone grounded. Food supplies became an issue as the weeks dragged on. Meals were rationed carefully, but hunger pangs were inevitable. One evening, as they ate bland protein bars for dinner, Mia joked, "If we survive this, I'm never eating another bar again." Alex chuckled weakly. "Deal. First thing we do when we get back is order pizza." Despite the challenges, the crew found ways to bond. They shared stories about their lives on Earth, laughed at old memories, and dreamed about what awaited them. On Zythera, Captain Bennett often joined in, sharing tales of his previous missions and offering words of encouragement. "You know, he said one night during a rare quiet moment. This mission reminds me of why I became an astronaut in the first place. It's not just about exploring new worlds, it's about connecting with others whether they're human or not. If we succeed, we'll prove that we're capable of something truly special. As the Aurora approached Zythera's solar system, the crew gathered in the observation deck to catch their first glimpse of the planet. What they saw shocked them. Zythera was beautiful, with shimmering oceans and sprawling cities that sparkled like jewels. But its skies were streaked with ominous red clouds, and massive cracks marred its surface. The dying sun loomed overhead, pulsating with violent energy. "That's Lyra's home," Mia whispered, her voice filled with awe and sadness. "It's falling apart." Alex nodded, his jaw clenched. "We have to help her, we have to try." The ship entered Zythera's atmosphere cautiously, navigating through turbulent winds and electrical storms caused by the unstable sun. Logan monitored the controls closely, his hands flying over the console as he adjusted the ship's trajectory. Finally, they landed safely near the capital city, where Lyra herself awaited them. As the crew disembarked, they were greeted by a figure, taller and more radiant than any human. Lyra's silver skin gleamed in the dim light, and her piercing blue eyes seemed to look straight into their souls. Beside her stood Kale, her loyal advisor, who bowed respectfully as the humans approached. "Thank you for coming," Lyra said, her voice soft but commanding. "I feared no one would answer my call." Captain Bennett stepped forward, extending a hand in greeting. "We couldn't ignore your plea for help. Humanity stands with you." For the first time since receiving the signal, Alex felt a glimmer of hope. They had made it this far, and now it was time to put their skills to the test. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, united by a shared goal: to save Zythera and prove that compassion could transcend even the vast distances between worlds. Part 4. The first meeting with Lyra was both awe-inspiring and humbling. Standing before the alien princess, Alex couldn't help but feel small. Lyra towered over them, her silver skin glowing faintly in the dim light of Zythera's dying sun. Her presence was regal yet kind, and her piercing blue eyes seemed to hold centuries of wisdom. Beside her stood Kale, her advisor, who watched the humans with cautious curiosity. "I am Lyra," she said, speaking slowly in a musical tone that resonated deeply. Mia had worked tirelessly to decode the language from the original signal, and now, hearing it spoken aloud, she felt a surge of pride. "You have come far to aid us. For this, my people and I are grateful." Captain Ryan Bennett stepped forward, his voice steady. "We're honored to be here, Princess Lyra. Humanity understands the gravity of your situation and will do everything we can to help." Lyra nodded graciously, though there was a sadness in her expression that made Alex's heart ache. She gestured for them to follow her into the city. As they walked, the crew took in their surroundings. The capital was breathtaking, with towering, crystalline structures that shimmered like rainbows under the fading sunlight. But signs of decay were everywhere: cracks in the roads, abandoned buildings, and weary faces among the Zytherans they passed. "This way," Lyra said, leading them to a massive dome-like building at the center of the city. Inside, the air was cool, and the walls were lined with intricate carvings that told stories of Zythera's history. At the heart of the structure was a laboratory filled with advanced equipment, much of it unfamiliar to Alex and Logan. "This is where I've been working," Lyra explained, gesturing to a large console covered in blinking lights and holographic displays. "My attempts to stabilize our sun have failed. Each time the plasma storms grow worse and the damage spreads." Alex moved closer, studying the data on the screens. He noticed similarities between Lyra's technology and some of Earth's most cutting-edge systems, but there were also vast differences. "Your work is incredible," he said sincerely. "But you're right, there are gaps. That's why we brought fusion reactors and quantum stabilizers. With your knowledge and ours combined, I think we can find a solution." Lyra's eyes lit up with hope, and for a moment the weight of her burden seemed to lift. "Then let us begin," she said, her voice firm with renewed determination. Over the next few days, Alex and Lyra worked side by side in the lab, exchanging ideas and theories. Alex marveled at how quickly Lyra grasped human concepts, while she patiently explained the intricacies of Zitharan science. Their collaboration became the backbone of the mission, and Alex found himself growing more confident with each passing. Our Mia, meanwhile, focused on bridging the cultural gap between the humans and the Zitharans. She spent hours speaking with Kale, learning about their customs and traditions. One evening, as they sat together in a quiet corner of the lab, Kale shared a story about Scythera's past. "Our people once believed the sun was a living being," he said, his deep voice tinged with nostalgia. "It gave us life, warmth, and energy. Now it threatens to take all of that away." Mia listened intently, nodding. "On Earth, we have myths about the sun, too. It's fascinating how different cultures see the same thing in such unique ways." Kaeli smiled faintly. "Perhaps that is why your people were able to answer our call. You understand the importance of connection, even across great distances." While Alex and Mia immersed themselves in their respective roles, Logan and Sophie faced challenges of their own. Logan worked tirelessly to install the fusion reactors, which required precise adjustments to function in Zithara's environment. The task was complicated by frequent tremors caused by the unstable sun, forcing him to make repairs under dangerous conditions. One afternoon, as Logan climbed onto the roof of the lab to secure a loose panel, a sudden solar flare erupted, bathing the area in blinding light. Sophie shouted a warning, and Logan barely managed to duck behind a protective barrier before the worst of the radiation hit. "Are you okay?" Sophie asked anxiously when the flare subsided. Logan emerged, brushing dust off his suit. "Yeah, I'm fine," he grumbled. "But this sun's not making my job any easier." Sophie handed him a water bottle and patted his shoulder. "Take a break. You've been pushing yourself too hard." Despite the setbacks, progress was being made. Slowly but surely, the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. The fusion reactors hummed with energy, and the quantum stabilizers showed promise in regulating the chaotic plasma storms. Yet not everyone in Zythera welcomed the humans' efforts. General Varn, a high-ranking military officer with sharp features and an even sharper tongue, openly distrusted the visitors. He believed that relying on outsiders was a sign of weakness, and argued that surrendering to fate was the only honorable path. During a tense meeting with Captain Bennett, Varn voiced his concerns loudly. "You claim to want to help us," he sneered, "but how do we know your intentions are pure? What if you seek to exploit our planet for your own gain?" Ryan met his gaze calmly. "Our goal is simple: to save lives. If you doubt us, then watch what we do. Actions speak louder than words." Varn didn't look convinced, but he backed down, for now. Still, his hostility lingered, casting a shadow over the mission. Alex and Mia noticed the tension during their interactions with other Zitharans, many of whom seemed torn between loyalty to Lyra and fear of Varn's influence. One evening, as the crew gathered for dinner in the lab, Alex voiced his concerns. "Varn's not going to sit back and let us succeed. We need to stay vigilant." "He's scared," Mia replied thoughtfully. "Change is hard, especially when it comes from strangers. But Lyra trusts us, and that's what matters." Captain Bennett nodded. "We stick to the plan. Focus on stabilizing the sun, and let Lyra handle her people. Our job is to give them hope, not fight their battles." As the days passed, the bond between the humans and Lyra grew stronger. She often joined them for meals, sharing stories of her childhood and asking questions about Earth. Alex found himself drawn to her passion and resilience, while Mia admired her ability to lead with compassion despite the odds stacked against her. "You remind me of someone I used to know," Alex said one night as they worked late in the lab. "She never gave up no matter how tough things got." Lyra smiled softly. "And you remind me that even in the darkest times there are those willing to reach out a hand. For that, I am eternally grateful." Though challenges remained, the crew felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had come so far, overcome so much, and now they stood on the brink of something extraordinary. Together they would face whatever came next, united by a shared vision of a brighter future, not just for Zithera, but for all beings who dared to dream of peace among the stars. Part 5. The days turned into weeks, and the work in Lyra's lab became more intense. Every hour counted as the unstable sun continued to wreak havoc on Zithera. The tremors grew stronger, shaking the ground beneath their feet and sending cracks, snaking across the city streets. The once vibrant skies were now a swirling mass of red and orange, casting an eerie glow over everything. It was clear that time was running out. Alex and Lyra spent long hours hunched over consoles, tweaking equations, and testing prototypes. They combined human technology with Zytheran innovations, creating something entirely new, a device designed to stabilize the plasma storms raging within the sun. Logan worked tirelessly alongside them, ensuring the fusion reactors could handle the immense energy required. His hands were often blackened with grease, but his determination never wavered. "This is it," Alex said one evening, staring at the final design on the holographic display. "If this works, we might actually save your planet." Lyra nodded, her expression a mix of hope and fear. "And if it doesn't? We'll figure something else out," Alex replied firmly. "We're not giving up." Despite their progress, tensions in the city were rising. General Varn had been quietly rallying support among the Zitherans, spreading distrust about the humans' motives. He claimed they were wasting resources on a futile effort when surrendering to fate would be wiser. His words struck a chord with many who were exhausted and desperate after years of struggle. One morning, as the crew prepared to test the stabilization device, Kyle rushed into the lab with alarming news. "Varn has declared martial law," he said, his voice tense. "He's ordered the arrest of anyone aiding the humans, including Princess Lyra." Captain Ryan Bennett immediately called an emergency meeting. "We need to protect Lyra," he said. "Without her, this mission falls apart." Logan frowned. "How do we fight off an entire army? We're scientists and engineers, not soldiers." "We don't fight," Ryan replied sharply. "We adapt. Our priority is to keep Lyra safe so she can finish her work. If we lose her, we lose everything." Sophie stepped forward, her usually calm demeanor replaced by urgency. "What about evacuating her? Can we take her back to the Aurora?" Kyle shook his head. "She won't leave her people. She'll stay and face whatever comes." Alex felt a knot form in his stomach. "Then we stay too. We're not abandoning her," Mia agreed, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. "We've come this far together. We stick together." That night, the crew devised a plan. Using Logan's engineering skills, they fortified the lab, setting up barriers and disabling nearby surveillance systems to buy themselves time. Sophie gathered medical supplies, preparing for the worst. Meanwhile, Alex and Lyra worked around the clock to finalize the stabilization device, knowing they might only have one chance to activate it. As dawn broke, the sound of marching footsteps echoed through the streets. General Varn's forces surrounded the lab, demanding Lyra's surrender. Inside, the team braced themselves for what was coming. "We're ready," Ryan said, gripping a makeshift weapon crafted from spare parts. "Stay close and follow my lead." The doors burst open, and armed guards stormed in. But before they could reach Lyra, Alex stepped forward, holding up his hands. "Wait, you don't understand. We're trying to save your planet." Varn entered the room, his cold gaze sweeping over the group. "Save it?" he spat. "You're wasting our last resources on foolish experiments. It's time to accept the inevitable." Lyra stepped beside Alex, her voice firm. "No, Varn. These humans have given us hope when we had none. I will not abandon them, or my people." For a moment, silence filled the room. Then Varn raised his hand, signaling his guards to seize her. Chaos erupted as the crew fought back, using whatever tools they had to defend themselves. Logan tackled a guard, while Sophie used a fire extinguisher to create a smokescreen. Amid the confusion, Alex grabbed Lyra's hand and pulled her toward a hidden exit Cale had shown them earlier. "Go," Ryan shouted, staying behind to hold off the attackers. "We'll meet you at the rendezvous point." Alex and Lyra ran through narrow corridors, their hearts pounding as shouts echoed behind them. Finally, they reached the outskirts of the city, where Cale waited with a small shuttle. "Hurry," he urged, helping them climb aboard. Once inside, Alex turned to Lyra, breathing heavily. "Are you okay?" She nodded, though tears glistened in her eyes. "Thank you. For everything." The shuttle lifted off just as explosions rocked the lab below. Through the window, Alex saw flames engulfing the building. He clenched his fists, hoping the others had escaped. When they landed at a secret facility, deep in the mountains, the rest of the crew was already there, battered but alive. Logan grinned weakly. "Took you long enough." Ryan approached Lyra, his expression grim. "We lost the lab, but we still have the device. That's what matters." With renewed determination, the team set to work assembling the stabilization device in the makeshift lab Cale had prepared. Time was slipping away. The sun's eruptions were growing more violent, threatening to consume the planet entirely. Exhaustion weighed heavily on everyone, but they pushed through, driven by the knowledge that failure meant extinction. Finally, after 3 sleepless days, the device was complete. Standing in the center of the room, Alex looked at each member of the team. "This is it," he said. "Let's show Zythera and the universe that we can pull together when it counts." Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder. "Whatever happens, know that you've already changed us. Your courage will never be forgotten." Together, they activated the device, sending waves of energy toward the dying sun. For a moment, nothing happened. The room fell silent as everyone held their breath. Then slowly, the violent eruptions began to subside. The red clouds in the sky faded, replaced by a soft golden glow. "It's working," Mia whispered, tears streaming down her face. Outside, the Zytherans watched in awe as the sun stabilized, its light bathing the planet in warmth once again. Cheers erupted throughout the city, and even General Varn lowered his head in quiet acknowledgement of the humans' achievement. Inside the lab, the crew embraced, laughter mingling with tears. They had done it. They had saved a world. But as Alex looked at Lyra, he knew their journey wasn't over. The bond they had forged would endure, a testament to the power of unity and hope. And though they would soon return to Earth, they carried with them the knowledge that even in the vastness of space, no one was truly alone. Part 6. The stabilization of Zythera's sun was a moment of triumph, but it came at a cost. The lab where the crew had worked tirelessly was destroyed, and parts of the capital city lay in ruins from the conflict with General Varn's forces. Though the immediate crisis was over, the scars of the past weeks were evident everywhere they looked. Buildings were cracked, streets were littered with debris, and the faces of the Zytherans reflected both relief and exhaustion. Lyra stood on a balcony overlooking her city, watching as the golden light of the newly stabilized sun bathed the landscape. Her silver skin shimmered faintly in the glow, and for the first time in what felt like years, she allowed herself to breathe deeply. Beside her, Alex watched silently, feeling a mix of pride and sadness. They had saved Zythera, but the damage done to her world and her people was undeniable. "You did it," Alex said softly, breaking the silence. "Your planet is safe." Lyra turned to him, her piercing blue eyes filled with gratitude. "Not just me, all of us. Without you and your team, I wouldn't have made it this far." Alex shook his head. "You're the one who never gave up. Even when things seemed impossible, you kept fighting." Lyra smiled faintly, though her expression remained tinged with sorrow. "Fighting isn't enough if my people are divided. Varn's actions have caused so much pain. Healing that will take time." Captain Ryan Bennett approached them, his face lined with fatigue but his voice steady. "Princess, we need to discuss what happens next. Your people are safe for now, but rebuilding will be a long process. We can offer guidance and resources, but ultimately, it's up to you to lead them forward." Lyra nodded. "I know, and I'm ready to do whatever it takes. But first, I must address my people. They need to hear the truth. Not just about the sun, but about unity." Later that evening, Lyra stood before a crowd gathered in the heart of the city. Kyle stood close by, offering silent support, while the human crew watched from a distance. Lyra's voice rang out clearly, carrying strength and compassion. "My people," she began, "we have faced unimaginable challenges, but today, we stand together under a restored sun. This victory belongs to all of us, to those who worked tirelessly, to those who sacrificed, and to those who dared to hope. It also belongs to our friends from Earth who answered our call for help when we needed it most." She paused, letting her words sink in. "But let this be a lesson to us. Division weakens us. Fear blinds us. If we are to rebuild Zithra stronger than before, we must do so as one. No matter our differences, we are united by our shared home and our shared future." The crowd erupted into cheers, their applause echoing through the city. For the first time in years, there was a sense of hope in the air. General Varn, standing quietly at the back of the gathering, lowered his head in quiet reflection. His rebellion had failed, but perhaps Lyra's message would plant the seeds of reconciliation. As the celebration continued, the crew retreated to a quieter part of the palace to regroup. Logan stretched out on a bench, groaning as he rubbed his sore muscles. "I don't think I've ever been this tired in my life," he muttered. Sophie laughed softly, handing him a bottle of water. "None of us have. But look at what we accomplished. That's worth every bit of exhaustion." Mia sat nearby, flipping through notes she had taken during their time on Zythera. "We learned so much here," she said thoughtfully. "Their technology, their language, it's all incredible. Imagine how much more humanity could achieve if we worked together like this all the time." Alex leaned against the wall, staring at the floor. "It's amazing, but it doesn't feel finished, does it? Like we stopped the sun from destroying the planet, but Zythera still has a long way to go." Ryan nodded. "That's true, but we've given them a chance, a foundation to build on. Now it's up to Lyra and her people to take the next steps." The following day, preparations began for the crew's departure. The Aurora had sustained minor damage during the mission, and Logan spent hours repairing it alongside Kale, who proved to be surprisingly skilled with machinery. Sophie packed up medical supplies, ensuring everything was accounted for, while Mia helped organize data collected during their stay. Alex, meanwhile, spent his final hours with Lyra, sharing ideas for future collaboration between Earth and Zythera. "This isn't goodbye," Lyra said as they stood outside the ship. "Someday I hope to visit your world and see it for myself." Alex smiled, though his heart ached at the thought of leaving. "And when you do, I'll be waiting. Until then, take care of yourself and your people." Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch warm despite her cool skin. "Thank you, Alex, for believing in me, for believing in us." As the crew boarded the Aurora, they took one last look at Zythera. The planet was battered but alive, its people beginning the long journey toward recovery. Captain Bennett gave the order for liftoff, and the ship ascended into the sky, leaving behind the world they had fought so hard to save. The journey back to Earth was quieter than the trip to Zythera. Exhaustion weighed heavily on everyone, but there was also a deep sense of fulfillment. They had faced unimaginable challenges and emerged victorious, not just because of their skills, but because they had worked together as a team. One evening, as they floated through the vast emptiness of space, Mia joined Alex in the observation deck. Together they gazed out at the stars, their reflections faintly visible in the glass. "Do you think we'll ever see Lyra again?" Mia asked after a long silence. Alex shrugged. "Maybe, or maybe not. Either way, what we did here matters. It proves that even across galaxies we're not alone." Mia nodded, her eyes shining with determination. "And it gives us something to strive for. A better future, for Earth, for Zythera, and for anyone else out there." As the Aurora sailed onward, the crew carried with them not just memories of their adventure, but a renewed belief in the power of unity and compassion. They had answered a call for help, and in doing so had shown that humanity was capable of greatness. Whatever lay ahead, they knew they had made a difference, one that would resonate far beyond their own lifetimes. Part 7. The return journey to Earth felt both shorter and longer than the trip to Zythera. The crew of the Aurora was physically exhausted, but their minds were alive with reflection. Each of them replayed moments from their time on Zithera, the challenges they faced, the friendships they formed, and the lives they had helped save. For Alex, thoughts of Lyra lingered most prominently. He couldn't shake the image of her standing under the golden light of the restored sun, her expression a mix of gratitude and resolve. One evening, as the ship drifted silently through space, Captain Ryan Bennett called everyone together in the small common area. "We're almost home," he said, his voice calm but filled with pride. "When we land, we'll be greeted as heroes. But I want you all to remember something. This mission wasn't about fame or recognition. It was about proving that humanity can rise to the occasion when it matters most." Logan leaned back in his chair, stretching his arms above his head. "Yeah, well, if being a hero means getting a decent meal and a real bed, I'm all for it." Sophie laughed softly. "You're not the only one who's missed Earth. Still, I'll never forget what we accomplished out there. It's proof that no matter how different two species are, they can work together to achieve something incredible." Mia nodded, her eyes bright with emotion. "And think about what this means for the future. If we could help Lyra and her people, imagine what else we could do, what other worlds we might connect with." Alex remained quiet, staring at the floor. He wanted to share their enthusiasm, but a part of him felt uneasy. Saving Zythera had been a monumental achievement, but the damage done to the planet and its people was still fresh. Would Lyra's vision of unity truly take hold, or would fear and division continue to haunt her world? As if sensing his unease, Mia placed a hand on his shoulder. "It's okay to feel conflicted," she said gently. "We did everything we could. Now it's up to Lyra and her people to carry the torch." Alex managed a small smile. "I know, I hope we gave them enough to build on." When the Aurora finally touched down on Earth, the crew was met with an overwhelming welcome. News of their mission had spread across the globe, and thousands of people gathered at the landing site to cheer them on. Reporters shouted questions, cameras flashed, and dignitaries lined up to shake their hands. It was surreal for the crew, who had spent months focused solely on survival and problem-solving. Dr. Emily Ross, the head of the research team, greeted them with tears in her eyes. "You've done something extraordinary," she said, embracing each of them. Not just for science, but for humanity itself. Over the following days, the crew attended press conferences, gave interviews, and participated in ceremonies honoring their bravery. They spoke about Zithera, describing its beauty and resilience, and shared stories of Lyra's courage and leadership. The world listened intently, captivated by the idea that humanity had reached out to another civilization, not with weapons or greed, but with kindness and cooperation. But amidst the celebrations, Alex found himself withdrawing. While the others basked in the glow of their success, he struggled to adjust to life back on Earth. Everything seemed smaller, quieter, and less significant compared to the vastness of space and the urgency of their mission. He often found himself staring at the night sky, wondering how Lyra was faring and whether her people were healing. One afternoon, Mia joined him on the roof of the observatory where their journey had begun. She carried a thermos of coffee and 2 mugs, setting them down beside him. "You've been distant lately," she said, pouring them each a cup. "What's going on?" Alex hesitated, then sighed. "I don't know. It's like I miss it. Not just Zithera, but the feeling of purpose we had out there. Here, everything feels ordinary." Mia nodded thoughtfully. "I get that. But look at what we've brought back with us. Knowledge, experience, and a new perspective. We didn't just save a planet. We proved that humanity is ready to take its place among the stars." "You're right," Alex admitted after a moment. "It's just hard to let go of something so big." Mia smiled. "Who says you have to let go? Maybe this is just the beginning. Think about all the possibilities ahead of us. We've opened a door, Alex. Now it's up to us, and everyone else, to step through it." In the weeks that followed, the crew began sharing their discoveries with scientists and researchers around the world. Logan worked closely with engineers to adapt Zethran technology for use on Earth, while Sophie collaborated with medical teams to study the biological differences between humans and Zytherans. Mia pored over linguistic data, creating a comprehensive guide to the alien language, and Alex focused on analyzing the fragment of Zythera's core that Lyra had gifted him before their departure. "This is incredible," Alex murmured one evening as he examined the glowing shard under a microscope. "It's like nothing we've ever seen before. If we can harness its energy, it could revolutionize clean power sources." Dr. Ross peered over his shoulder, her eyes wide with excitement. "This alone could change the course of human history. You've given us more than we could have ever hoped for." Despite the groundbreaking work they were doing, Alex couldn't help but feel a pang of longing. The fragment reminded him of Lyra, her strength, her brilliance, and her unwavering belief in the possibility of connection. He wondered if she ever thought of him and the others, gazing up at the stars and wondering how Earth fared. One day, as he sat in his lab, Alex received a message from Dr. Ross. "There's someone here to see you," she said, her tone cryptic. Curious, Alex made his way to the main office. When he entered, he froze in disbelief. Standing before him was Kyle, Lyra's advisor, holding a small device in his hands. The alien bowed respectfully, his deep voice resonating through the room. "Princess Lyra sends her regards," Kyle said, extending the device toward Alex. "She wished to give you this, a token of gratitude from Zythera." Alex took the device carefully, examining its intricate design. It resembled a crystal orb, pulsating faintly with light. "What is it?" he asked. "It contains a record of Zythera's history and culture," Kale explained. "Lyra hopes it will serve as a bridge between our peoples, a reminder of what we achieved together." Tears welled up in Alex's eyes as he held the orb. Tell her thank you, and that we'll keep building that bridge." Kyle nodded, a hint of a smile crossing his face. "She knew you would say that. Until we meet again, Alex Carter." As Kale turned to leave, Alex felt a renewed sense of purpose. The mission may have ended, but the connection they had forged with Zythera lived on. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, and Alex knew this was only the beginning. Looking out at the stars once more, he whispered softly, "We'll be ready." Part 8. The days turned into weeks and life on Earth slowly returned to normal, or at least as normal as it could be after such an extraordinary event. The crew of the Aurora became household names, celebrated not just for their bravery, but for what they represented, humanity's potential to reach beyond itself. Schools taught lessons about their mission. Artists painted murals depicting the moment Zythera's sun was stabilized, and scientists around the world raced to study the fragment Lyra had gifted Alex. For Alex, the crystal orb Kale had delivered became a constant source of inspiration. He spent hours in his lab, examining its glowing surface and deciphering the data stored within. The orb contained more than just records of Zythera's history. It held blueprints for advanced technology, insights into their culture, and even personal messages from Lyra herself. One message stood out to him. To Alex and his team, "Thank you for reminding us that hope can shine even in the darkest times. May this gift guide you as you continue your journey among the stars." Reading those words filled Alex with determination. He knew this wasn't the end of humanity's story. It was only the beginning. The knowledge gained from Zythera had already sparked innovations in energy production, medicine, and engineering. Logan worked tirelessly to adapt Zytheran designs for use on Earth, while Sophie collaborated with medical researchers to develop treatments inspired by alien biology. Maya dedicated herself to teaching others about Zytheran language and customs, giving lectures at universities and writing articles for scientific journals. Her goal was simple: to ensure that humanity approached future encounters with alien civilizations with respect and understanding. "We can't repeat the mistakes of the past," she often said during her talks. "When we step into the universe, we need to do so as partners, not conquerors." Captain Ryan Bennett, meanwhile, became an advocate for space exploration. He traveled the globe, speaking to governments and organizations about the importance of investing in interstellar missions. "This isn't just about science or discovery," he told audiences. It's about proving that humanity is capable of compassion on a cosmic scale. We answered one call for help. Now imagine how many more voices are waiting to be heard. Despite the progress being made, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that there was still so much left to do. He often found himself thinking about Lyra and wondering how Zythera was recovering. Were her people truly united now? Had they begun rebuilding their cities and restoring their planet? These questions haunted him, but they also fueled his drive to keep pushing forward. One evening, as the sun set over Greenfield, Alex climbed to the roof of the observatory where his journey had begun. Beside him sat Mia, who had joined him for what had become a nightly ritual. Together they gazed up at the stars, marveling at the infinite possibilities they represented. "Do you think we'll ever go back?" Mia asked quietly, breaking the silence. Alex hesitated before answering. "I don't know, but I like to think we will. Someday." Mia smiled. "Even if we don't, we've already changed things. For Earth, and for Zythera. What we did out there to prove that we're ready to explore, to connect, to grow." "You're right," Alex said, his voice steady. "And maybe that's enough for now." As the weeks passed, the legacy of their mission continued to unfold. New technologies based on Zytheran designs began appearing in everyday life, from cleaner energy sources to faster communication systems. Scientists dreamed of applying these advancements to solve some of Earth's most pressing problems, from climate change to poverty. Meanwhile, governments started drafting plans for future missions, eager to build on the success of the Aurora. But perhaps the greatest impact was felt in the hearts of ordinary people. For the first time, humanity saw itself not as isolated beings trapped on a single planet, but as part of something much larger, a vast interconnected universe full of wonder and possibility. Children looked up at the night sky with newfound curiosity, imagining the worlds that might exist beyond the stars. Adults talked about the future with optimism, believing that humanity could rise to meet any challenge. Alex carried this hope with him every day. In his lab, he worked tirelessly to unlock the secrets of the crystal orb, knowing that each discovery brought humanity closer to understanding its place in the cosmos. Late at night, when the building was quiet and the stars shone brightly through the windows, he would sit alone and think about Lyra. He imagined her standing under the golden light of her restored sun, leading her people toward a brighter future. "She's out there," he whispered to himself one night, holding the orb gently in his hands. "And so are we." Months later, Alex received an invitation to speak at a global conference on space exploration. Standing before a packed auditorium, he shared his experiences on Gythra and spoke passionately about the importance of unity, curiosity, and courage. As he concluded his speech, he held up the crystal orb, its light casting a soft glow across the room. "This is more than just a gift from another world," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "It's a symbol of hope, a reminder that, no matter how far apart we may seem, we are all connected. Whether we're looking up at the stars or reaching out to touch them, let us remember that together anything is possible." The audience erupted into applause, their cheers echoing through the hall. For Alex, it was a moment of profound gratitude, not just for the journey he had been on, but for the journey that lay ahead. As he stepped off the stage, Mia greeted him with a proud smile. "You did great," she said, handing him a cup of coffee. "Now what's next?" Alex took a sip, savoring the warmth. "Next? We keep going. We keep learning, exploring, and dreaming, because the universe is waiting, and we owe it to ourselves to see where it takes us." And so, with hope burning bright in their hearts, Alex, Mia, and the rest of humanity prepared to take the next step into the unknown. They had proven themselves worthy, not just as survivors, but as dreamers and builders. The stars were no longer distant points of light. They were destinations, opportunities, and reminders of the boundless potential within every human soul. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, united by a shared vision of a better future. And though the road might be long, they knew one thing for certain. The universe was vast, but humanity was ready to embrace it. All of it.